Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have another special guest from the Tiger Muay Thai camp in Phuket, Thailand, Mr. Alex Volkanovski. How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Excellent. So give us a little bit of background about yourself. You're a professional MMA fighter. I know you have a great record of 9-1 right now. Around the Tiger Muay Thai, there's a lot of hype about you. Online, there's a lot of hype about you. There's some big events coming up with the UFC in Australia this year in 2015. It looks like this could be your year. Break it down for us.
Yeah, well, I've been fighting probably for 4 years. I only started 4 years ago because I used to play rugby league, actually. I was playing rugby league for 11, 12 years, and then I started fighting, and yeah, I just thought I'd change and see how I went with it, and it's all just happened so quick.
Okay, so you're from Australia?
Australia, yes.
Okay, how old are you?
26.
26. So you've been fighting since 22, and before that, you were extensively involved with rugby.
Rugby league, yeah.
Professionally? Not
the top level, but like first grade local football and representative and all that sort of stuff. So I used to do pretty well with the rugby league. That's why I had a lot of mates and people that knew me and local sort of supporters and that, like, why are you changing? Like, what are you doing? Because I actually used to do really well. Like, I've got Mick Cronin medal, which is like the best player of the whole comp and all this sort of stuff. But I just thought I was ready for a change, and I knew I could take because I knew I wouldn't make the NRL or anything like that, but I knew I had confidence in myself that I could really do well in MMA, and my first few fights went well, so I've stuck to it, and now within the 3-4 years, man, so much has happened, and yeah.
That's excellent.
It's been unreal.
And I think that's an interesting topic to lead into, that you were, on a professional path with rugby, which is probably what a lot of people would consider a safer route as far as financial earnings are concerned compared to mixed martial arts. What's your take on that? A lot of people are like, hey, mixed martial arts is still a business where we feel like a lot of people are underpaid, especially the people competing in it. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. At the level I was on, it wasn't ridiculous sort of money, but it was still decent money, and it was, every week I was getting paid and all that. So yeah, you're right. It was definitely a bit of a risk to do that, but like you said, there's the MMA fighters, we don't get paid enough. That's for sure, and hopefully that changes soon, because it's getting so big, and
I was just reading today that Forbes has put Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White on the billionaires list. Yeah. So I mean, okay, Fertitta, he's got casinos and whatnot in Vegas, so there's I'm sure the UFC is just one of many revenue streams that he has, but Dana White has obviously made his fortune, and well deserved. I've met him several times, worked with him, had the pleasure of working with him on the UFC Undisputed video game titles when I was working on those, and he's the hardest working man in showbiz, but it definitely seems like there's a piece of the pie that could be handed out to the people that are really sweating and killing themselves being involved with the sport and providing the scraps that everybody's tuning into and paying for to see.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Yeah, like you said, I'm sure they work really hard and they deserve it, but so do the fighters, I believe, and it's a sport where we need to get our money quick, It's
the shelf life is the shelf life is limited.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly, and we can only limited fights per year, sort of thing, So with NRL or with the rugby league and all that sort of stuff, you're getting paid a constant sort of.
Almost like on salary.
Yeah, you are on salary. You're getting some good money, but if you can get injured and you can only have one fight a year or something like that.
It's the case of a lot of fighters, man.
And you get guys that are doing well and still struggling, which you would think if you're in the UFC you shouldn't be struggling, but anyway, that's just how it is at the moment. But I'm sure it'll change.
It's something that I've been bringing up a lot on my podcast when I tend to preview and recap shows, and there's more and more cards, and more we're looking at these cards, and there's a lot of fighters that just don't have Wikipedia pages are almost hard to come by. Since I've been hearing about you here, I've been doing some research into you, and you, for example, are a fighter that doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. If we want to find out the most about you, probably the best resource is going to be SureDog.com.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's interesting to see, though, that you can get fighters at the highest levels of the sport, the UFC, and that they're still unknown.
Yeah,
right?
It's crazy.
So I think a lot of people are a bit confused about the UFC's direction of putting on so many cards and going to so many places. But I'm of the advice that, first of all, I'm of the opinion that I can never watch enough fights. And especially if it's the UFC hosting them, there's still always going to be a great high level of production value. And they're scouting their guys and they're bringing in top talent, even if you haven't heard of them. So I always tune into it. And I think what's great about this, and we'll be talking about this more as we proceed with the show, is that they're really expanding into new places, and we're finding new talent from new places, talent such as yourself coming out of Australia. Why don't you speak a little bit on the Australian MMA scene, and also sort of how you got into martial arts?
It's getting really big. It's getting big everywhere in the world. But yeah, in Australia, it's starting to really, really get big, and we're getting a lot of fighters and all that. And yeah, we've got a few fighters in the UFC at the moment, and happy for them. But some of them haven't been doing the best, and they're still getting chances, which, like I said, I'm happy for them. But I just want that chance. So I've sort of get jealous in a way, if you get what I mean. But because I know I really want to do it for my country as well. Like, I don't want to just go in there just for myself. Like, I really want to represent my country and do well, and which I know I can, and I know it's bound to happen soon, and I just can't wait to prove myself.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at shows like The Ultimate Fighter, you look at camps of MMA, and there's a lot of big families and groups of people that function and train together. But at the end of the day, this is really a one man. I mean, it's every man for himself.
Yeah,
and you see how those relationships on The Ultimate Fighter deteriorate as teammates have to fight teammates. We always hear about problems within different camps of guys who've got to fight their teammates and whatnot, or they've changed weight classes. I think Rashad Evans says if Anthony Johnson beats John Jones for the light heavyweight title, that Rashad will drop down to 185. Like Cormier dropped down to avoid having to fight Cain Velasquez. What's your take on that? I mean, I'm sure you've created some incredible camaraderie with the people that you train with. Would you be able to fight one of your buddies, one of your training partners?
Yeah, like I usually leave it to the other, the guy like that has been offered to me if I know them from training with them and that, because I get along. I'm a nice guy, and I get along with everyone. You know what I mean? So, but I am the type of person, if they're happy to fight, and then I'll fight. So, but if it doesn't happen, if they say no, I'm close, I'm happy to let it go as well. But that's happened a couple of times in Australia as well. Like there's a couple of guys that are, especially in the featherweight, I can't really get any featherweights fights back home. Really struggling to get fights there, and even lightweights, I'm still sort of struggling.
Just due to a lack of people of just that weight class?
Not just maybe that, but just now because I've ranked actually number one in Australia for featherweight and for lightweight in both divisions, and second pound for pound. And I fought all the tough dudes, and I've come from such a higher weight class and all that. So maybe maybe I feel like a big threat to them or whatnot. But a lot of, it's hard to get fights now, and a couple of opportunities I've trained with them, and then it's sort of weird. But but that's just the game, isn't it? Like, you're going to train. But in saying that, whoever you train with, you always got to be prepared that it might happen. So I don't. I'll leave it up to my opponent. If he's happy to fight and the promoter wants it,
let's do it.
I want that money.
Exactly, man. Money weight, as King Mo likes to say. Let's talk about your different weight classes. You began your career at middleweight, went down to welterweight, went down to lightweight, and now you're at featherweight. I'll admit that the first time I saw you, I'd seen you before. I didn't know who you were. I interviewed Sam Basta, and he was talking about, he's in the same weight class as you. He's a featherweight from Australia, same area. And, he's got nothing but praise for you. And then when I saw you, I was like, this dude isn't a 145er, so I can see why some guys would feel a little intimidated. You seem to be walk us through those those changes in weight classes. You were playing rugby before. You were obviously, 200 pounds or something?
I was 97 kilograms. So pounds, I couldn't tell you what that is. But that's heavy. I'm almost 100 kilograms, I was. And I used to play the front row in the forward pack. So I was that big front row that runs straight
big
into
bastard
the
in the front
wall. Yeah, that was me. But I was always, I'm only shorter than 5'6" or something. If that, I'm probably not even that. And I was just really, really stocky, and I still have that stocky build. But
for sure.
Yeah, I get up to, even now I get up to 86 kilograms when I'm, so I'm 20 kilos out of my weight usually. Now I'm not, but after fights and that, it doesn't take me long to get to 86. But yeah, that's how it started. I was 97 kilograms, playing rugby league, and then my last year of football, I had a couple of fights, and I got down to 85 or something, and I started fighting middleweight while I was playing football. And I got a couple of quick wins, KO wins and that. So all my 4 fights, my 4 fights were all at middleweight, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
And they all were first rounders as well. So all of them didn't even make one round actually. So before I went professional, I didn't even have 1 round experience yet. But so that was all at middleweight. And then I went to welterweight and fought some actually real tough guys straight away in my first few fights. My only loss was against Corey Nelson, which is he's actually ranked number 1 pound for pound. I'm second, and that's in a division I should never have really been in. But I was just not lazy, but I didn't know about the whole cutting thing, and I was heavy, and I just didn't worry about the weight.
Yeah, that's something that I was just going to bring up that fight because I read it online how and you were saying in an interview that that was the fight that made you realize that you need to get to a lower weight class. So was that a middleweight fight or a welterweight? That
was a welterweight fight. Even welterweight, you can imagine with the weight cut, I was still walking around at 76. And
some of those guys are huge. Yeah,
they're still huge how big the people do the cuts. Like I'm now that guy, but so that was, and him obviously he's been the best in Australia for a long time, and me just being silly and I'll take on anyone, sort of. That's my attitude back then. And it was a bit early in the career to be fighting someone like that, especially in a weight class I should never have been in. But I had even all my fights were tough at welterweight actually. Even the fight before that, Corey Nelson, that was a guy that beat Corey Nelson just not long after that. So Anton Zafir, he's doing really well as well. Actually, I'm his only defeat. And
that brought you to lightweight.
And then the loss, I was like, even Corey Nelson was like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to do this? And I realised, at this high level, I can't be fighting these monsters. So I went down to lightweight and then started fighting, started winning, started feeling really good. And then I knew I could make feather, so I made feather. And now I've only had a couple of featherweight fights, but they've gone really well, and I feel just as strong as I did when I was 85 kilograms. So it's one of that loss really, really changed everything around, and I'm sort of happy for that loss, and I'm glad it sort of happened because it woke me up a little bit, and then now it's all going really well.
So with amateur wrestling in the United States, American fighters seem to have a real advantage in terms of weight cutting because they grow up practicing wrestling, which in itself is the best base to have for MMA. You being from Australia, having changed and fought at 4 different weight classes, how were you exposed to the weight cutting process?
Yeah, well now everyone's starting to do it. Everyone does the big weight cuts even in Australia now, so we're all starting to learn and get into it. But obviously at the start, for just at a local level, when you're just at your local gym and all that, and not many of them ever done it before, so I sort of had to learn the hard way. I had a mate that sort of read into it and told me a little bit, and I started there, and I realised, this ain't too bad, and it started. Now I've got it down pat. I end up 86 and I fight at 66. I end up losing.
Okay.
In the 24 hours, I'll do 5, 6. Even my first featherweight fight, I'd done 7 kilograms of losing water, and I end up winning in first round again. That was probably one of my biggest fights, and I felt great. So I've got it down pat now. But in the wrestling, like you said, it's funny you said that because I used to wrestle when I was younger as well. That was before rugby league. I'd done a year or something wrestling, a couple of years, and I was actually Australian champion wrestler and all that.
Okay, right.
So I didn't do it too long. I sort of gave it up for the whole friends and football thing. And I wish I stuck to it, and I wish I started MMA early. I would wish I knew where I'd be right now if I'd done that. But
if we could do a podcast about different decisions in life, I'm sure we could go on for hours.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm sure anyone you talk to, they'll say the same sort of story or the same thing.
So what's the wrestling culture like in Australia?
Well, it's it's nothing like America. It's not that big at all, really. But because even in the Australian Championship I had a few fights, but I had one fight. I think I ended up and I won the Aussie title. So that's it's not too big, but it was definitely gave me the base I have. Even for football, it helped me so much, and I'm glad I done that a couple of years. But obviously in America the level of wrestling and the weight cutting is a lot better. But I'm happy with how I do it. I've got it down pat.
Yeah, so I mean, it's great because you hear about these horror stories of dudes cutting weight classes, and it sounds like for you it's just been natural, and you've just fit into dropping consecutive weight classes rather painlessly. Well,
I'm that stocky sort of build, so I've got that bit of muscle and that to lose a lot of water, so I sweat easy.
Okay.
And I actually during my fight camps I do little weight cuts. I'll go to the sauna and lose. So I'm used to it. It's nothing for me to go into sauna.
Do you think you could even make bantamweight?
I don't know, because I walk around pretty lean, and I don't know. I could lose probably a lot of muscle and do it, but I don't know if that. I'm already big enough.
So featherweight sounds like you're home and you've got your power. I mean, I've seen your highlight reel. You're blasting dudes. It sounds like this is your home and you want to make a run.
100%. Well, my coach even says back home, Joe Lopez, he even says that when I'm down, at 72 kilograms or something, walking around before my water cut, he reckons I feel just as strong as I ever did. If not, I'm in my zone. I feel stronger than usual and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if I really want to change that when I know I'm still feeling so strong and I still think I'm a reasonable size featherweight anyway. I feel out pretty good. Obviously they're always going to be taller than me. I'm still pretty short featherweight.
How tall are you?
But I couldn't tell you. 67 centimeters, I think. So what's that? I think it's
I'm terrible with the conversions. I lived in the States. I lived in Canada. I've done metric. I've done inches. It's all a mess to me.
Yeah, I'm short anyway. So
yeah. So you touched on back home, back in Australia. Right now, just so people know, we're actually in Phuket, Thailand. We're just a short distance from Tiger Muay Thai, where Alex is a sponsored fighter. He's actually officially part of that team. We're going to talk about his rise through those ranks shortly, but we wanted to talk about your training in Australia. You and how you divide your training between Australia and Thailand. Let's speak a little bit on what goes down in Australia.
I've got a local gym back home, a freestyle fighting gym, under my coach Joe Lopez, and I've been there since day one. And he's done.
What's the name of the gym?
Freestyle fighting gym.
Freestyle fighting gym.
There, that's in New South Wales. It's just local, just around the corner from me as well. So that obviously helps.
Okay.
And so when I was playing football, my last year I was there as well doing that, and then he sort of wanted me to have fights, and then we got the ball rolling. It all happened, and now I'm one of the main fighters there, and I am the main fighter there. Really, sorry, there's only a couple of us that are pro now, and so it's the change to go to Tiger has helped a lot, obviously with the training partners and all that sort of stuff. But there's still so many things when I go back home. And my coach, because he knows me so well, he knows what I want, he knows what I'm good at, and he can really sharpen my tools. But then obviously I come to Thailand, and you got this high level coaches like that, the best Muay Thai coaches, the best wrestling coaches, the best, everything, you know what I mean? So that's obviously going to help. And then the training partners, which is massive, always competitive. You've got some of the UFC fighters I'm training with every day, top 1 FC fighters, champions, and all this sort of stuff. So, and it's good. It's good even mentally to see where you're at with all these guys. And I do so well with even the UFC fighters and even the guys at heavier weights. And so it's good to see where I'm at. And that's what sort of made me realise, all right, I'm ready for UFC. Let's do it, And I'm sure, I hope, a lot of people believe in me and think that too. But Tiger Muay Thai has been awesome. The tryouts.
Yeah, so just let's touch on that. I talked about this with Will Elliott in my interview with him yesterday, and Tiger Muay Thai held some tryouts. Was it in 2012 or 2013?
It was last year.
It was last year. So
they done it in 2013 as well.
Okay, so they hold these tryouts where people from all around the world can compete in Phuket, Thailand, through a series of challenges and tests to become a sponsored Tiger Muay Thai fighter.
Yep.
How did you become aware of this competition? How did you access to it? And how did you perform during it?
Yeah, social media. That's where I actually seen it. A few people posted. I'm like, oh, because I already knew about Tiger Muay Thai. And and I was just like, oh wow, like what an opportunity! I need to try and get on this. And then my coaches and Luke Vella back home, one of my like sort of manager back home, he hit up Brian and Roger and that, and just sent the applications. We had to sign applications and then send it through, and we got the email back saying that they wanted me there. And man, like you said, it's from around the world. Like just to get the invite for the tryouts was massive. Like I couldn't believe that I even got that.
So once you got approved to attend, how many people were part of this competition?
There ended up being about 36 of us. I think there was going to be a little bit more, but there was 36 of us that were actually at the tryouts, and from everywhere: Canada, America, Russia,
just everywhere,
worldwide, and all top level guys, right up and comers. And
were there some sort of minimum requirements? I mean, how many fights did you have at that point?
They wanted people that were had they didn't actually. There was even a couple of guys that only had a couple of fights, but they were purple belts and they had a couple of Muay Thais. Yeah, exactly. They still had a lot of experience, and they knew them, and they knew they're through training at Tiger, knew they were really good training partners. And
so there wasn't just one set of criteria. It was a bit of an individual case basis.
Yeah, it's not all about just the best fighters. You want to have a good training partner. You want someone that's helpful and who's real welcoming and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, because you can get guys that are beasts, but then you won't get a word out of them, and they just want to knock your head off every time you get in there. And that's not what you need in a gym. So
so how did things play out once the challenge started?
Well,
what was that test environment like?
Yeah, well, it was so tough, the tryouts. They were like, we went there, we all met each other, and they told us sort of what was happening, and we got stuck into it straight away. And oh mate, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I'm not used to that sort of full-time fighting sort of experience. I used to just train once a day, after working all day and do this, and then we're doing 2 sessions a day, like really hard sessions, and really tested us. And we got beat up pretty bad, but it was all a good experience, and man, it was tough. And,
from what I've heard about it, it's a rather grueling physical, emotional, and spiritual experience.
You can go on YouTube and you look at the Tiger Muay Thai tryouts, and you can see it's already got thousands of views, because it's pretty cool to watch actually if you're into that sort of stuff. But
so how is the field whittled down as that competition goes, or is it not? Is it just 36 people do everything, and then at the end it's just, I think 7 people were retained.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yep. There was 36 the whole way. We done everything. So we done the beach session, like real hard, like a strength and conditioning session. Then we done the Muay Thai session, which was brutal, and then we done the wrestling and BJJ the next day. And then we done the Big Buddha early in the morning. Then we had the Songkram Scramble. It was a BJJ comp, and we were all in it. And everyone, a lot of people from Phuket as well. So it was, after doing all them 3 days and the Big Buddha straight before it, oh man, it was tough. And I was in the division from 70 to 80 kilograms, and we had we had like 5-6 matches each. Me and George, we had 5-6 matches because we made it to the final.
Okay.
And it was brutal, hard work, but I guess anyway, that's what happened. And then they end up giving us I think it was a week before they even told us what happened. I can't really remember.
How long did that whole process last?
That was only 3 days of just 3 days in a row. It wasn't that long, but it was brutal. Yeah.
All right.
But and I can't remember exactly how long we waited till we got the results. Then we all went in, the film crew and everyone was still in there, and then they announced the guys, and I was blown away that I got it, man. It was one of the greatest achievements I've had, to be honest with you.
So once that became official, how did things evolve for you at Tiger Muay Thai from there? What sort of presence did you have here? What sort of schedule did you begin to fill in under the Tiger Muay Thai umbrella?
Yeah, well, now I'm just I'm part of the fight team. I'm real close with everyone. All of us really. We're all doing really well. Like I've had 4 fights under him now, I think.
Okay.
Or one of
so since winning the competition.
Yeah, since in the competition. Okay. So I think I've been one of the most consistent fighters actually. Last year I was anyway. I fought 4 times with that short period of time. And now I'm part of the team, and so it's going really good. Part of a team banter, so that's also really good. But man, it's been unreal. Like I said, with the training and everything, man. What I've, like I said, from being full time, changing to full time, and the training that I get here, man, let's
touch on that. So, you were training back in Australia. You had some great performances and progress there. How can you measure the progress that you've had since joining Tiger Muay Thai? Has it just been exponential?
Oh, mate, it's been huge. Like I said, from the tryouts, I end up going full time after the tryouts.
Okay.
So I was always working, and it was hard to really get all the training in and all that sort of stuff.
So you were working a day job?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Concreting. So,
right.
Nice tough job. So they used to keep me fit and strong, I guess. But I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying
that's farm boy
fighting
strength,
for a
right?
living anyway, it's definitely still really tough fighting, but it's something I love anyway, so it's a best job.
You definitely convey your passion, and you're I'm anxious to see you fight again now that I'm getting to know you, because it sounds like you're one of the guys who likes to be in there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like that, you want to be there, and I think you really see that in certain fighters. I remember when Junior Dos Santos came out, and he was almost giggling while he was in there, smashing guys like Verdum. I remember his fighting against Verdum, and he smashed him with an uppercut. It was just a shocking win in his UFC debut. And Dos Santos always, now he's getting beat up a bit too much for my taste, but when he was in there, he's the type of guy who looks like he's having fun. Who are some of the fighters that, sort of with the charisma and the energy that they give off in the cage, who are some of the fighters that you say that I dig this dude?
Oh, there's a few guys. There's obviously Donald Cerrone,
Yep.
what he's been doing, taking fights, weeks notice, and staying so consistent, he's just, I'll keep fighting, I'll get that money, sort of thing. That's unbelievable. It's really good what he does, especially at that top level, Especially when he's a top contender.
Yeah, 7 wins in a row.
When you're a top contender and you're just taking anything, he just loves it. And you can see that he loves it. He's like you said with Junior Dos Santos, he's the same. He loves it in there,
Yeah.
And there's a few of them, man. The list goes on, really. But if I had to choose one, obviously I'm sure most people would probably choose him, especially from last year and this year, what he's done. And even Benson Henderson, what he done as well, when he took on that monster of a human being. That really, and being rugby league, and even in the sparring room, we always get split into groups, for sparring and that, and I always have to go on the big group, I always like taking on the big boys. I'm used to the big boys. So, I feel
the more
like
you
I'm
push
like
yourself, the more you've got to be. It's the iron sharpens iron. You're going to grow by competing against people that are better than you.
Yeah.
If they're bigger, better, stronger, already by default you're at a disadvantage, and you're going to have to work hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm like them little chihuahuas. I feel 10 foot tall, and that's why I look at everyone, and I see these big monsters, and I look at that's my size. I'm going over there. That's how I actually look at it. And me doing I fight in all different weight classes, as we were talking about before. So Donald and Benson doing things like, when I see people doing things like that, like even Donald Cerrone, he was gonna take on Anderson if Nick was
couldn't make it.
What I mean?
Can you imagine Donald Cerrone against Anderson Silva? That would have been crazy.
But he would have done it. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, I guess I've done all that, I've done that as well. Not at that level, obviously, but I've done that sort of stuff. My last fight, 2 fights were in the same week. I fought 66 in Guam for the PXC against a tough opponent, Kyle Reyes, and that was a massive fight for me. And then the weekend after, I fought on my coach's show at welterweight. The weekend after, so 6-7 days I was fighting at welterweight, and so I feel like I can, I know what they've been through, and that's tough. I'll probably never do it again, because it was 1 week. It's just not enough to mentally prepare, and I was already in holiday mode, because I knew that was going to be my last fight of the year, so that was tough. But if I had to choose guys, them guys, when I see things like that, like even Anderson Silva when he was fighting in both divisions,
middleweight, 205.
Yeah, exactly, man. I support them 100%. That's unreal.
So you last fought in November.
Yeah,
and that was in PXC, correct?
Oh, that's what I was just talking about. I fought in PXC, and the weekend after I fought actually locally for my coach's show at welterweight. So the last fight was actually at welterweight.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you jumped up 2 weight classes for your last fight.
Exactly, yeah, in the week.
Okay, how's your experience been fighting in PXC?
Yeah, that was unreal. That's my first international fight, and man, it's so big over there in Guam. They love it over there, and they're so welcoming. I went there, and I guess I had had the beard and all that, so I was probably the only person over there with the beard. So I was really easily recognised, and because it's so big over there, everyone follows it, and I was getting guys coming up to me on the street. Oh, you're Alex there, because I was the co-main event.
So you got the star treatment.
And I was fighting a well-known fighter over there as well. He was actually meant to, if he beat me, he would have got the title shot. And he's a massive name. Oh, you're fighting Carl Reyes, man. Oh, yeah, cool. Getting heaps of photos, and I felt like a star. I'll go back home and you get a couple of people like, oh yeah, what are you doing? Oh yeah, I just fought last week. Oh, did you? Oh yeah, cool. But when I'm over there, it just felt like I felt like the king over there. It was really good. They really
it seems like it's a mainstream sport.
It's on their normal TV, on the radio. I was going taxis, places where I had to go for training and that. This is over in Guam, just before preparing, and I could just hear it on the radio. Oh yeah, Australian Alex The Hulk Volkanovski,
You must have been like, what the hell?
Man, I was like, how good's this?
That's great.
Yeah, it was unreal. So that was a great experience. And then the crowd was full house, people standing all over the floors. There was too many people for the seats, and they were going off, and they really appreciate the sport as well. They don't just support, the guy I was fighting was a local, but I still had a lot of people supporting me or whatever. If they seen something,
a good fight's a good fight.
If they see a good scramble, they were cheering for me. They didn't care. They just enjoyed.
I've never felt any sort of patriotism in fighters. I mean, I'm half Canadian, half French. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. My father was from the Alps. I don't really feel any patriotism towards either country, really, in any capacity. But certainly not, not in fights. I don't know, for example, Hendricks versus GSP. I was rooting for Hendricks. I'd seen enough of GSP being too dominant. I wasn't a fan of his, the style of fighting that he's been putting on for the last 5-6 fights, and I was rooting for Hendricks for the upset. And I think some people are like, "How can you root against GSP? You're Canadian." I'm just like, I just root for a good fight. It's most of the time it's there's fighters you don't like, there's fighters you do, there's fighters you want to see win. Like, for example, I'd love to see Anthony Johnson beat John Jones. I'm just a huge Anthony Johnson fan. And listen, I'm a big Gustafson fan, but I'm glad Johnson fought and won. I want to see some fresh blood against Jones. Yeah. And I'm happy it happens, and I hope Johnson wins, but it's not out of any sort of national affiliation with him. It's just I like the dude's style. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And 100%. Who cares where he's from, you know?
That's 100%. I agree with you.
So that's cool to see that, fighting in Guam, that people are just like, hey man, this guy's here because he's good, and let's just scream and cheer for a great fight and may the best man win.
Oh yeah, that's exactly how it was. Even after the fight, man, I would have had a line of people trying to get photos with me, and because it was a nice tough fight, and they were happy with the performance from both of us, so they were coming up getting photos and saying how good the fight was and all this, and it was really, really good experience, man. I really enjoyed it, and they appreciated what we did in there, so that's what it's all about, I think.
So do you have a fight lined up? You haven't fought since November, is that correct?
Yeah, well, I haven't. I wanted that to be, because I had 5 fights last year, or 6 fights in 12 months, and so I thought, I deserve a little break, and then I wanted to fight, February, March. But I had one that was we were talking about before, that was sort of...
Yeah, you were scheduled for a King of the Cage fight actually this month, in the middle of March.
It was actually, unfortunately, it would have been a great opportunity, but we're waiting on contracts for so long, and because of me being signed with PXC and all that sort of stuff, so I've got to stay loyal with them, and I'm not allowed to fight, and I didn't know if it was exclusive, so we were waiting, and then we just thought it wasn't going to happen. We got sort of annoyed, and they told me a couple of weeks out that they still wanted us, and sent the emails and that, and I was just like, no man, it's not worth the hassle, because it was a bit hard. We wanted to fight in America to get my name out there, but I mean, paying for their own flights and all that sort of stuff, it just really wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth the hassle, especially with things. We didn't no communication really. So it's not 100% their fault, but I want to be prepared, especially for the first fight of the year. I had all that time to prepare, and they didn't get back to me, so it didn't happen anyway. But
May, we're looking. Can we see you fight? Do you have something on the books?
May we got maybe fighting, so nothing's set in concrete, so I can't really say. But hopefully I can fight for PXC in May. So that's probably going to be in Philippines. So that's what I'm looking for anyway. But I'm looking for one now, man. When I get back home, I'll leave, and when I get back home, if someone gets injured for a lightweight fight, because I could make lightweight right now, I'll take it. I'll take it on a couple of days' notice. So I'm just waiting. We've been trying to get fights. There's a couple of guys that pulled out, and then we tried to organise with them, but then they didn't want to fight me and all that sort of stuff. So, man, I really want to fight.
Okay, sounds like you're chomping at the bit, man. I can see it twitching in your seat there. So, obviously, the big news today, it actually came out that the UFC will be doing an event for the first time in Melbourne on November 15th. And that before that, on May 10th, there's a fight. There's a UFC Fight Night 65 in Adelaide. Before we started this podcast, we were looking a bit at the lineup on UFC 65 to see if there was an injury, if there was someone you could fit in. We did notice a lightweight contest between Jake Matthews and James Vick, and a featherweight contest between Hatsuhioki and Dan Hooker. So you basically think that if one of those guys were to be out there, you'd be willing to jump in and fill in those cards?
That's why I'm even now, because I don't have nothing set, but I've been dieting. I'm staying at a good weight. I'm going to try and stay at 75, 76, and then I'll even try and get a bit lower just in case something happens. When it gets closer to them cards, I'll make sure I can make feather. I'll fight lightweight, I'll fight welterweight if they want. I'll fight him. Like I said, I just want to be in UFC. And that's obviously the main, that's my main goal. But so I'll be ready for that, or I'll be ready for PXC. I want that belt as well. So
Okay, so you'd be ready to fight for the PXC featherweight belt.
Yeah, man. If they
is
want me to fight,
is there somebody holding that belt, or is it vacant?
Actually he's fighting in March. He's fighting in Guam. So whoever wins that's gonna have the belt. But I'll fight them whenever they want that as well. So that would look good with the collection. A nice PXC belt. It's a good looking belt.
That's dope. Well, listen, Alex, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You have an incredible energy around you. I know there's a lot of hype. I'm gonna definitely share your videos and your highlight reels on my blog and on my Facebook and my Twitter to make sure that a maximum of people get behind you. It seems like there's a bunch of hype to try to get you on one of these UFC Australia cards. So I'll reach out to the people that I know too and try to push some buttons there. How can fans keep in touch with Alex Volkanovski over social media?
Social media is the way to go. So Facebook, you can get me on Alex The Hulk Volkanovski. And then you got Instagram, again, Alex The Hulk Volkanovski, and my like page, Alex. Yeah. So the friends, you can add me on that if you want as well, that's fine. But I got the like page, I got Twitter as well, everything under Alex The Hulk Volkanovski. So
okay, I'll make sure that on my blog post for this podcast that I'll include all the links for your social media. So yeah, guys, make sure you follow Alex. It's going to be a big year for him. A lot of hype, a lot of big right hands are going to touch a lot of chins. Hopefully we'll watch some bodies go down and we'll watch your hand get raised, my friend.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for that.
Excellent.
This was awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. This was the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Peltier, with my guest, Alex Volkanovski, fighting out of Tiger Muay Thai. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Be sure to visit trashtalkmma.com.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at Trash Talk MMA. Let us know you're listening. Use hashtag Trash Talk MMA.
There's more and more cards, and more we're looking at these cards, and there's a lot of fighters that just don't have Wikipedia pages, are almost hard to come by. Since I've been hearing about you here, I've been doing some research into you, and you, for example, are a fighter that doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. If we want to find out the most about you, probably the best resource is going to be SureDog.com. Yep. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's interesting to see, though, that you can get fighters at the highest levels of the sport, the UFC, and that they're still unknown.
Yeah,
right?
It's crazy.
So I think a lot of people are a bit confused about the UFC's direction of putting on so many cards and going to so many places. But I'm of the advice that, first of all, I'm of the opinion that I can never watch enough fights. And especially if it's the UFC hosting them, there's still always going to be a great high level of production value. And they're scouting their guys and they're bringing in top talent, even if you haven't heard of them. So I always tune into it. And I think what's great about this, and we'll be talking about this more as we proceed with the show, is that they're really expanding into new places and we're finding new talent from new places. Talent such as yourself coming out of Australia. Why don't you speak a little...
Rugby league for 11, 12 years, and then I started fighting, and I just thought I'd change and see how I went with it, and it's all just happened so quick.
Okay, so you're from Australia?
Australia, yes.
Okay, how old are you?
26.
26. So you've been fighting since 22, and before that, you were extensively involved with rugby.
Rugby league,
Professionally?
Not the top level, but like first grade local football and representative and all that sort of stuff. So I used to do pretty well with the rugby league. That's why I had a lot of mates and people that knew me and local sort of supporters and that, like, why are you changing? Like, what are you doing? Because I actually used to do really well. Like, I've got Mick Cronin medal, which is like the best player of the whole comp and all this sort of stuff. But I just thought I was ready for a change, and I knew I could take because I knew I wouldn't make the NRL or anything like that, but I knew I had confidence in myself that I could really do well in MMA, and my first few fights went well, so I've stuck to it, and now within the 3-4 years, man, so much has happened, and
that's excellent.
It's been unreal.
And I think that's an interesting topic to lead into, that you were on a professional path with rugby, which is probably what a lot of people would consider a safer route as far as financial earnings are concerned compared to mixed martial arts. What's your take on that? A lot of people are like, hey, mixed martial arts is still a business where we feel like a lot of people are underpaid, especially the people competing in it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. At the level I was on, it wasn't ridiculous sort of money, but it was still decent money, and it was, every week I was getting paid and all that. So, yeah, you're right. It was definitely a bit of a risk to do that, but like you said, there's the MMA fighters, we don't get paid enough. That's for sure, and hopefully that changes soon, because it's getting so big, and
I was just reading today that Forbes has put Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White on the billionaires list. Yeah. So I mean, okay, Fertitta, he's got casinos and whatnot in Vegas, so there's I'm sure the UFC is just one of many revenue streams that he has, but Dana White has obviously made his fortune, and well deserved. I've met him several times, worked with him, had the pleasure of working with him on.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have another special guest from the Tiger Muay Thai camp in Phuket, Thailand, Mr. Alex Volkanovski. How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Excellent. So give us a little bit of background about yourself. You're a professional MMA fighter. I know you have a great record of 9-1 right now. Around the Tiger Muay Thai, there's a lot of hype about you. Online, there's a lot of hype about you. There's some big events coming up with the UFC in Australia this year in 2015. It looks like this could be your year. Break it down for us.
Yeah, well, I've been fighting probably for 4 years. I only started 4 years ago because I used to play rugby league, actually. I was playing rugby.
The UFC Undisputed video game titles when I was working on those. And, he's the hardest working man in showbiz. But it definitely seems like there's a piece of the pie that could be handed out to the people that are really sweating and killing themselves, being involved with the sport and providing the scraps that everybody's tuning into and paying for to see.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Yeah, like you said, I'm sure they work really hard and they deserve it, but so do the the believe, and it's a sport where we need to get our money quick, It's
the shelf life is the shelf life is limited.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly, and we can only limited fights per year, sort of thing, So with NRL or with the rugby league and all that sort of stuff, you're getting paid a constant sort of
Almost like on salary.
Yeah, you are on salary.
You are on
You're
salary.
getting some good money, but if you can get injured and you can only have one fight a year or something like that.
It's the case of a lot of fighters, man.
And you get guys that are doing well and still still struggling, which you would think if you're in the UFC you shouldn't be struggling, but anyway, that's just how it is at the moment. But I'm sure it'll change.
It's something that I've been bringing up a lot on my podcast when I tend to preview and recap shows, and